is going to have to be the quote-unquote religion of tomorrow. If it isn't, you're fucked. Totally and absolutely.
Oh yeah, I know about those.
I braved the elements. I avoided all the multi-car pileups, and I made it home safely. So I'm good.
Ah, so how's the week been so far?
It's been brutal. It's been
Mm.
brutal. I think I have to. I got to stop watching In Hot Water for a little bit.
And hot, what's that?
It's a show on Compound Media. It's these two comedians, Gino Bisconti and Aaron Berg. And a caller called in and was like, I can never say that I've never seen gay porn now because I watched this show. And I thought about it. I'm like, fuck, he's right.
Wait a
I
minute.
didn't even.
Oh, I'm gonna need some more context. This
So
is this is just about comedians, right?
it's jokes. They tell jokes, and occasionally a part of their humor is, for instance, there was a video that was pretty disturbing, but they thought was hilarious, and it's a guy on a skateboard, and the first shot that you see is the guy just standing on the skateboard, and the wheels are lit up, and you notice on the end of it there's a giant purple dildo strapped to the front of the skateboard.
Okay.
And the camera follows him as he moves forward and he goes up a ramp. And at the end of a ramp is a man bent over
Oh
with,
God.
and he rides the skateboard with the dildo on the end of it right into his ass. And you hear the thud. You hear the thud of the board hitting the ramp, but then you hear the squish and the thud of what I could only assume is either the depths of his colon or his prostate. There's something solid that's hit at the end of it, and
I think
and
it's the depths of human depravity. We just that's what
it's
that is.
it's pretty bad. And some of the stuff is admittedly pretty funny, and it's not the bulk of the show. And I've got to admit that I have to turn away for a lot of the scenes because I can't stomach it. It's too much for me. It's
Right.
just too much.
It
And
already
there,
sounds like too much for me.
it's pretty bad. So then there was one where there's a dude in an 8 ball jacket and he looks completely thugged out. And they're filming him from inside the subway car and he's on the bench. And as the camera, as they pull up, you start to notice that his pants are down and he's sitting on top of another dude who's just eating his ass.
What? Wait,
Just,
bro. What?
yeah.
Why do these things escalate so quickly? I'm trying to understand what.
Well, apparently in New York, in the subway specifically, there's no one doing their due diligence to get rid of vagrants, to stop drug deals or sexual acts from happening. So there's all these videos emerging, and a lot of these dudes they take the train to get to work. So they really revel in the fact that there's all these videos in circulation of things like they had one, and the dude took the footage himself, and he's walking into I think it was Grand Central Station, and right out in front there's just a dude and he's like 60, 65, and he's chiseled. He's an old chiseled dude. And his pants are around his ankles and he's just violently beating his dick. And people are just walking by. Nobody seems to notice. Nobody's making eye contact. But he's out there. Broad daylight, violently beating his dick. And nobody
and
misses a beat.
and somebody else is capitalizing off of this by so they're actually showing this or they're like watching it on their podcast and describing it to people while they laugh at it, or are they actually showing
No,
this shit?
it is. I think you can down. It's like how Tim Pool does his. It's a show where there's a visual, right? But you could just listen to the audio. But if you subscribe and you have the good fortune to be able to get the visual alongside of it, you are treated to a bounty, a
Wow.
bounty of disturbing scenes. And the the cutoff for me, and I would want to say like I'm revealing white secrets, but I'd be lying because I just got acclimated and familiar with it. So I didn't know. This was, do you know what a chili dog is?
I mean, I want to say yes, but I feel like I'd be wrong. I mean, just by
Not
the way
not the
you,
food, the
just
sex
by the
act.
way you set that up, I feel like I'm wrong. I thought I knew what it was.
Not the food, the sex act.
Okay, so all right, so that changes things. Um, I'm gonna say no, but I probably can figure it out. I mean,
All right, let's
that
hear it.
I mean, if it's a chili dog and it
Yes,
has something to do with some weird, like, yeah, I don't know how far I want to go into this description though.
no, so the danger here is you may be more depraved than the depravity that it actually is, which would be revealing, and I could understand you don't want to mind those depths of your psyche. You don't
No,
want to venture too far in those corridors.
I'm just thinking at a base level.
But I had no clue. I couldn't even guess it. I was, what the fuck is that?
Okay, all
Like,
right. So okay, let me ask you this: if if you heard the phrase, if somebody posed that question to you, just like you're doing to me right now, okay, it's called a chili dog. It's a sex act. Would you have been able to guess it just by knowing what it's called?
no, and I've never
Well,
been
I
able
have
to do
no
that
idea then.
with any of them. Okay, so if people had to describe to me what a glass bottom boat was, I didn't know.
I've never heard
I
that.
didn't know what a dirty Sanchez was. I didn't know what a rusty trombone was. Um, I didn't know what any of these things were.
Yeah,
So
I remember a moment in my life where Dirty Sanchez might have been the funniest shit in the world for probably a year or two, when you first find out what that is.
yeah,
Mm.
because the thing is my sexcapades are very G rated.
Yeah,
I'm very, it's like the Disney version of sex. It's very tame. It's
that was
it's
horrible.
it's
Just
making out. I meant in the sense that, Disney will talk about, historical scenes and it will be Disneyfied.
right, right. I
So
got
things will be very bright and colorful, and
right.
they don't get into how bad the fable is or the story that they're using for their source material. It doesn't get as rugged and raw as the source material is. That's all I mean by it. I don't mean Disney in the sense that I'm a
Yeah,
producer. I produce
yeah.
shows for
Disney and
Disney.
sex has some
Right.
problems.
And I need access to your kids. It's nothing like that. Um,
So okay, so chili dog.
but it's just straightforward. It's making out, it's cunnilingus, it's doggy, riding, missionary, switch up the orders all the time, right? But it's very predictable. And
Oh,
I like things. So there's nothing in my mind to go to some of these more, and I'm kind of upset with myself because now I feel like being exposed to this information, now I kind of feel like the next time someone gives me one of these ridiculous, Cleveland steamer, whatever the name is, I think I'd actually be able to figure out what it is now. I feel like I've been given too many clues, and I feel like I was better off not knowing the clues. So a chili dog. Okay, are you ready for this?
I'm not, but let's
Okay.
go.
It's when a woman shits on your dick. So there we have the chili dog, but wait, there's more.
Oh
Then
god.
she gives you head after she shit
Oh
or shat on your dick. No, 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 no. But it gets worse because just visualizing it, that's that's torturous enough. No, 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 no. They played the video. So I
no,
saw
bro.
it, I turned it away. I couldn't see the whole thing. When I turned back to be like, okay, are we ready to go on with the rest of the show now? Because a lot of this stuff was funny, but now you've just started to disturb me. And my eye caught the tail end of a woman, like when you leave a kid in a high chair with like a thing of pizza,
This
or
is so bad.
or like or
So
like or
bad.
like or like spaghetti and meatballs, right?
Oh
It's a
no.
mess.
Oh.
It's all over the tabletop. It's all over the kid's face. That's how this woman looked, but with shit. And she was aggressively sucking this dude's shit dick. It's a chili dog. It's a chili dog.
Right. Well, I think I had the first part of it right, but I thought it was over there. I had no idea it was gonna get worse.
It's horrible.
Oh my
It's
gosh,
horrible.
dude.
And she didn't
That's
have a solid bound. It was very liquidy. It was
Well, I
horrific.
mean, in her defense, I'm gonna probably say that that was deliberate because
I guess so. Yeah, yeah. For what you're about to do.
right, from what you knew you came here
So
to do. Yeah.
now my first introduction to this is even a thing is I forget which Biggie song it was when he said, you know, and she wanted me to, to take a shit on her,
Right, right.
and after I did, we got down. And
No.
I think I was like 13, 14, and I was just appalled. There's a couple things like I don't really like food involved with sex. There's some people, edible panties, get some strawberries and whipped cream, and okay, I don't want to intermingle um, sex and food, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't disparage or discourage. If that's your thing, that's fine. There's no judgment here. I can't fathom in any scenario where where the joys of sex and taking a shit are intermingled. I can't. There's nothing. I just can't figure it out. And I guess
That
it's a thing where
yeah.
people are really into it, but
That's some Yakubian shit right there.
it's
I don't
gotta be.
know.
If nothing else makes you believe in the 66 trillion year old
Right.
Yakubian experiment, the
Yeah.
fact that there's people that live with us, like, listen, vagina is tasty, it's great, it's right temperature, right viscosity. It's just great. It's just the bee's knees. You
But
know what? We make it better.
hear
Let's
me
just
out. Hear me out.
wait, wait. Yeah,
No, bro.
let's just
No.
take a. It's horrific.
Now see,
It's
with everything that we've been talking about here, like, transcending the binary and all, I feel like I think my disgust and my just overall, dislike of this kind of shit is fair for me. But at the same time, is this something that we need to be concerned about? Like, are these people just out in society hanging out the rest of the time? Do they live where are these people at in their spare time? What are they doing? Are they touching the same door handles as us? Like, what? I don't know. I feel like I might want to. Should we be keeping tabs on these people?
I
Maybe the
don't.
government. Hopefully, the government's already taking care of that.
I don't know, but you bring up an excellent point. I don't trust the 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 daily reliable hygiene of somebody who's willing to just be shat upon. Because I mean, how clean do you really get, and how bothered are you by being dirty? Like, um, I don't know how what's the maximum amount of days in a row you've gone without taking a shower, but at day two, you start to feel this film. You kind of feel it. Like you feel that you
Yeah.
need to
Oh
shower,
yeah. You know when
you
you're
know?
filthy.
Yeah, you'd like, and I know, people, this is kind of a conventional, it's very new, it's modernity. The 100 years ago, people washed maybe once or twice a month. It was not a daily thing. You're actually overwashing, you're over sanitizing, it's weakening your immune system.
Yakub.
What? Yeah, okay, maybe. I don't know. I don't know, but I've heard the arguments, and I don't know how it was around the entire world or what people's practices are. I know there's places in the world now where there's very unsanitary washing practices and people get by, but there's a lot of, contaminants in the water and whatnot. But apparently in the Western world, the ethos of my experience and point of reference, this is a rather new convention, is daily showering. But I guess I'm spoiled. I'm spoiled and I'm weak. I like it. I like it. And I
Mm.
like the feeling. But you bring up a good point because I would assume that somebody who's capable or even desirous of being engaged in such a filthy act, I don't feel like they have the same compulsion for sanitation.
Right.
That
Right. It just wouldn't even mean as much to them
right.
as another person. Like, yeah, that's making me get
Like
some.
you can never be a waiter.
Oh, I
You should never
fucking
be
hope
a
not.
you should never be allowed to come to my table and crush the
Oh,
avocados and make the fresh guacamole and slice my bread and hold it down with one of your hands as you cut
See,
piece. You shouldn't be a waiter.
this
You
is
can't.
how totalitarian governments are formed. This is how shit like this happens. Because if this is the first group of people that the government announces, they're using their Google searches to quarantine,
Oh
like
yeah, these are the Alex Joneses of society. Everybody be like, it's all right.
we
Like
agree.
you
It's
got to
like,
take
yeah,
away their rights.
yeah, take away their rights for sure. They're fucking eating chili dogs over there. We can't have this. We can't just be walking around in society with the rest of regular people if that's what you're doing in your spare time. I don't necessarily want you to have to wear like an armband or nothing like that, but I feel like society would be better if we knew who those people were.
I don't know.
You see, it sounds dangerous. This is a slippery slope we're on right now,
Very
but
slippery.
because this is very reminiscent of some things that has already happened in the world, and I feel like if we had a list of these people, I don't think anybody would be standing up to protect them right now. I don't think anybody would be like, that's not right. You can't use people's Google searches to condemn them and use them. I mean, is there anything we can convict them for? Like, I'm looking for crimes right now. We got to find a way to put
No.
these people in jail.
Two consenting adults are allowed to shit on each other's genitals,
Ah,
and there's nothing we can, nor should there be anything that we can do about it.
we
We
can't do
just don't
anything to
want them
stop them.
handling our food. That's
We
all.
don't want them in the rest of our world. Actually,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go that far.
Anything in food production, anything. Whether
Or
you're
public
sourcing the
places.
food, um, no,
Public places, bro.
I think you can work. In fact, there's some jobs where you'd be better suited for. You could be a plumber.
Yes.
You could be a toll booth attendant. You're touching filthy money all day. That's right up your alley. It's not going to bother you. Money
But
is
that would suck for
already
the people you got to give change to.
it would, but you should know if you're taking, first of all, if you're requesting the change back,
Oh
you
yeah, it's your
deserve
fault.
whatever
Whatever.
plague has been unleashed upon you. Let the 25 cent go, stolen legacy juice box. Move on. It's okay. It's okay. So you shouldn't be requesting change. And if you know it's rife with cocaine residue and fecal matter, you know this is what is on money. You know how it retains all the filth. You're dealing with somebody who does nothing but touch filthy money all day long. You want to hold the very tip of the dollar as you extend it to them. If they start to overreach, you want to pull your hand back so that they're only grabbing the tip of the other end, and you want to drive away. You do not want to be handed any change back. You let
Oh
them keep the
my god.
change, pay it forward, and continue about your way. You do not want to bring the plagues of Egypt into your car by taking change.
Yeah.
It's a
So
horrible
are
idea.
we bigots or something like that for thinking that these people can't separate? Like maybe they understand that this is like some weird perversion, but then when they're done, they wash their hands, they take a shower, and they're like, nice doing business with you, and they just get back to regular life. Is it wrong to assume that they're all around 360 degrees depraved in every aspect of their existence? Is that wrong to assume that?
This is where I've landed, is that anything sexual that involves consent and doesn't involve um non-nubile participants, I don't care. I don't have any judgment for. If it's two consenting adults, I don't care what you do. But I mean, we we had this problem with not seeing homosexuals as people. I don't know if I'd say we. I feel as a society,
Right.
I
Yeah.
don't. I. It was still okay to be like, you like people of the same sex. I'm allowed to kind of be nasty to you just on those grounds.
Right. Yeah.
And it
Repulsed by it and
right.
all of that. Yeah.
Right. And
Wi-
so we're kind of like, okay, if you have those attitudes, you're kind of a caveman. You're not enlightened. It's kind of a crappy it's kind of a crappy disposition to take on, like as far as being a decent human being, because you can meet people who are in same-sex relationships, and there's a myriad of other things that you could have common ground and relate about, and the person could be super cool, and you could build on any number of things. And so it's not a topic of obsession when you're around someone that's heterosexual. Like, we always have to be focused on your heterosexuality. Like, nah, you're talking about any
Right.
number of other things. So it doesn't make sense that it would be this obsessive point of contention that just it creates this blockade that doesn't allow you to connect with them on any other level. That's silly. And so
Yeah.
once we got there, we were like, well, what if you kind of like the same sex, but you like to dress up as the opposite sex? So you're kind of not the same sex because you're identifying as the opposite sex, and then you're with someone that's the same biological sex, but not the identified. So it's kind of heterosexual, but kind of homosexual. But we don't want those people to feel marginalized or mistreated just because of that choice. And I can
Right.
kind of understand it too. Like, I don't like, there's some stuff. If I gotta say he him, I'm fine. Matzo ball soup complexion, more bread than broth. He him pronouns. I'll concede if that's how we're gonna identify ourselves from now on. Okay, fine. I'll do that. If that makes everybody feel more comfortable, I'll start saying he him. I got no problem with that. Fine, I'm in. Um, and so we don't want those people to feel isolated. And so a part of making them not feel so abnormal or so ostracized, it people projecting those same kind of hateful attitudes that were being, directed at homosexuals maybe for the last, I don't know, shit, hundreds of years. I don't know. At some point, Western civilization was really cool with homosexual people, and then it went through a phase where it really didn't like them, and they had to go underground. So I don't know the exact timeline, but at least since the 50s, it wasn't a cool thing, right?
Right.
It could be a problem. Um, so maybe this is the natural progression. Maybe it's the same thing. Like, look, I just took a shit on that dude's dick and I sucked it. I sucked the shit off his dick. It's called a chili dog. But I
Oh,
too like Lifestyles of the Poor Dangerous. I think it's a slamming album. Big L was severely underrated and ignored by the mainstream, but he was incredible. And I really like the Yes You May remix with Lord Finesse, and I thought Big L killed that. And can you talk to me about that without obsessing about the fact that I just took a shit on a dick and sucked it and I washed up afterwards? Why does that have to be? Why do we have to just focus on my chili dog obsession? My chili dog habit has nothing to do with any of these other things.
oh,
So I can't
okay.
find a
I
good
see.
reason to hate these people.
Not okay. Maybe not hate him.
But I'm disturbed. I am
I am.
disturbed.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
definitely disturbed. But this also brings up another thing. So me and my daughter the other day were talking about horrorcore hip hop, right? So I'm like, I remember that time. I remember that space of when Gravediggers came out and hip hop just got really weird. But of course, later on, you find out through the internet that all this other shit existed that you had no idea about, and the pool of it gets wider. So as you start to look at these people who are in that realm of horrorcore hip hop, a lot of these people, I mean, a good amount, a handful of them, ended up going on to commit some wild ass crimes and do some crazy shit to people. And so it's like, if this is what your consciousness is doing, is this is how you're expressing yourself in your spare time, isn't it kind of when does it become okay to sort of start looking at people a little sideways? Because should we just always assume that you can turn it off and on, that this is just something you do and it has nothing else to do with how you function, how you move, how you deal with people in your regular life? It's just this thing I do on the weekends. Is that we just completely disregard everything? So I guess as long as you're functioning in society, nobody thinks you're that weird, your neighbors are not calling the cops all the time because something strange is happening at your place, then we don't really have nothing to think about, nothing to worry about. I don't know, man. It seems kind of weird to me.
It's a
It seems kind of weird.
slippery slope, a slippery, shitty, shit covered
It's a
slope.
terrible slope. It may be the
I,
worst slope I've ever encountered.
and but there's corners like I've been invited to like these sex dungeons and stuff. None of that stuff like really interests me. I've never been. Sex for me is kind of like a utilitarian thing.
How do you
It's
get invited to a
it,
sex dungeon?
I just I know all I don't discriminate when it comes to like if you're cool, I could connect with you. So you may be into some shit that I'm just not into, but we could still be cool.
Right.
I knew this chick. She told me about what she saw at the thing. So I guess it was some convention, and she was like, yeah. So this dude, he was getting these saline injections into his balls. So
Oh,
we were all there and watching him, and they injected saline. So he had this massive sack. And I guess the sexual fetish is the next time he ejaculates, we'll keep it scientific, medical, professional. Um, it's so much more intense because he has a sack full of saline. So there's a specific reason behind it. Because I was just like, so he's just laying on the floor. Yeah, he's just laying. Everybody's doing all kinds of stuff. So it was like no big deal. But I thought it was fascinating that they were injecting saline into this man's nuts, and his sack was getting so big. Like, all
it's
right.
just for him to experience something at a later date.
Oh well, I'm sure he's gonna. That's not something you don't want to walk around with that kind of heat for long. He went home.
Yeah.
He went home and released the hounds quick. He took care of business, I'm sure.
Oh,
But and
that's
she's just
I don't know.
describing to me all this shit that's around. I'm like, I've never been to a convention like that. I've never been to any of these kind of like eyes wide shut events. Let's wear masks and throw our keys on a bowl and all that. It's not my thing.
Yeah.
But I don't want to tell people because you do that, you can't be a good parent or a good citizen. You know, it kind of gets weird when we start judging, sexual aspects. But at the same time, I get what you're saying. Like, if you're in to beating dogs as a kid, you're probably going to start working on some humans. After you kill
Right.
your first couple of squirrels, you strangle a few cats, you need to be on I got to take you off here. I got to put you on a
Yeah.
list.
There's a line. There's
Yeah.
definitely a line because a lot of the shit that like even with the whole eyes wide shut kind of thing, there's nothing I could see where there's people in society and probably not even a lot of them. There's probably a small percentage of people in society who would be absolutely disgusted by something like that happening in their town or whatever. But I feel like that's a small minority of people. Most people would be like, "Oh, whatever, let them that's a party." Yeah, they're wearing masks. They're doing whatever they're doing. It's a party. But chili dogs though,
Oh yeah, yeah.
that's I feel like it's a little different.
You think that's the horrorcore of sex?
I,
That's the
I
people we got to watch.
right. I feel like you're operating in a space now that's almost anti-human. It's because you're doing something that's so counterintuitive to what a normal functioning person would
Slippery
do.
slope, slippery slope. They said the same thing about homosexuality.
No, but
That
that was wrong though. You know why that was wrong?
but
Because
hold on.
everybody was doing it and everybody was having a great time doing it. And then society came along somewhere else and said, "Hey, this is weird." I don't know a time in human history where everybody was just playing with poop and eating it. That's
We
not
may not have dug up that particular civilization. The archaeological find may have not happened
that's
just
what they're
yet.
hiding.
But it
That's
right,
the missing link right there.
that's what the Vatican. That's why they're not releasing all the scrolls. Talks about in
About the
ancient
first
times.
10,000 years of human history, right? It's like
Let's
we can never let them find out that this is where they came from.
let's just poop on each other and make out.
Like, that was
Yeah.
before wars, before racism, and
Yeah,
everybody.
nobody had the strength. Everybody had just shit their brains out and fucked their brains out. Everybody is just completely relieved of everything in their
Oh,
bowels and everything in their nuts, and they're just all passed out, covered in cum and shit. And nobody. What if that? What if that's the way
I know.
that there's no wars?
Right.
You could stop starvation and stop all the wars if people were just covered in cum and shit and just too exhausted to fight, too exhausted and just re- disgusted, just beaten down, just
It takes
no
care of our
war
problem of
appetite.
materialism too. Materialism is
Yeah,
gone down the
that's
drain.
yeah. We have no nice things
Who cares
after
about
that
Rolexes
Rubicon is
anymore?
crossed.
Yeah.
Everything is covered in shit and cum. It's ruined. Nobody cares. There's no more collector's editions of anything.
Oh,
That's
so
all I.
maybe these people are actually highly evolved, and we just don't we don't know it yet.
You know, but the thing is okay because you can say that, oh, it's not natural because you know you're taking the shit that's meant to be excrement, but well, you know, you're penetrating the buttocks, right? People had the same kind of rationale. You're not going to create any children. There's no point in it. And then what do you do with heterosexuals who like to do the same thing? You know, I'm
Right.
with a
Yeah.
girl, it's heterosexual, but I'd rather be in a butt. I,
Like, no, you're weird too. You get in the box with the other guys.
it's See, but here's the thing. It's not my cup of tea, but I
Right. But
just don't
yeah.
know how judgmental or if there is even a point to being judgmental or there necessarily needs to be a stigma attached to all those things. So if you're willing to deviate from quote unquote the natural order in that regard, the assumption is you're going to deviate in all kinds of ways where maybe sexual deviancy with the exception of anything against somebody's will, is something that you can be deviant in um, relative to the status quo, but still be upright in everything else. Maybe that's possible. I don't know.
That's a hard call. But it's worth just it's worth exploring though, because I think that's sort of where we're moving towards anyway. But some of this shit is going to be extreme and repulsive to us for another 100 years. We just got to be honest. I think that's probably the biggest issue with that people have right now, trying to integrate society so quickly because they felt like they've been marginalized for so long. Not to say they haven't, but that's what they've been experiencing for all its time. So they want people to just catch up, just deal with it. There's 347 different genders and terminologies and shit, and you just need to get yourself up to speed because we ain't got time to deal with your old, bullshit. And I get it. I get the feeling, but the reality is people are just not going to get it that fast. You know what I mean? And so it's possible that this kind of question isn't going to be answered in any real certainty for a long time because that's a hard one, bro. It's rough. It's hard for me to imagine a person being able to function in every other way. And I guess that's just from being removed from that kind of shit. And there's so many levels to where other people would say the same thing about, like you said, about different practices and what other people do in their spare time. People probably feel the same way about it. So that is a very, very hard line to have to draw, but something just feels I have no data, I have no
Listen,
facts, I have no empirical evidence, but
done.
something feels all the way wrong about people who do that shit and then just walk around with everybody else. It's like that shit feels strange to me. And
Um,
it shouldn't. It shouldn't. I definitely
but
understand that it shouldn't because if you can be out there, well, look at fucking Ted Bundy, right? How long was this guy functional in society? And look what he was doing.
he's a hottie too.
Well,
Very
I,
attractive man.
I guess that's the problem. That's what it comes down to, right? If you're cute, you can get away with anything.
He could get away with anything. They said he was like charming the women they're in the courtroom. It's like I
Yeah,
know he murdered 15 bitches, but I just want to give him this pussy.
right.
I
For
want him
some
to have
reason,
it.
right, and that's why he was able to do everything he did and
Well,
get
you
away so
know,
many times because people just, and look how long that dude was moving around freely in society doing that kind of shit. I feel like somebody should have not they should have known, but there's probably a lot of markers and shit like that right now. Imagine what his Google search history would have been.
listen, Casey Anthony killed her
Oh,
daughter.
shit.
I guarantee you there's dick thrown at her constantly.
Oh yeah,
I'm sure Jodi Arias, it gets letters all the time.
yeah,
And you know she stabbed that man to death. You
yep.
still be like, look, we're gonna get you out on appeal. You can come live with me. You know, my mom's upstairs. She'll look out. She'll make sure we got food. It'll be great.
Well, that's
Come on.
because other guys think they can probably take her. It's
I
like
don't
I
know.
wouldn't. She can't get away with that shit with me. They'll look at the guy who she killed and be like, "Well, he was a beta. She ain't gonna do that shit to me."
I
And
don't
the
know.
women, with Ted Bundy, they're probably thinking the same thing. Like, I know he killed 30 other women, but he probably wouldn't kill me though.
Right. I'll change him. He'll change for me.
Like, no,
He'll
nope.
change for me.
You're gonna be another notch on the belt, lady.
Yeah.
Oh,
I,
it's
I, I
rough, dude. This is
but
this.
but But how is
Wow.
this any different from like racism or noticing any kind of trend? Like, let's say you had a 20% discrepancy. You looked at the people having traditional sex, and you had group B, the chili dog group. And in the chili dog group, you saw a 20% increase across the board in all levels of deception and criminality. Now we start thinking like, okay,
Correlation,
is
causality. What are we
but
doing?
but even still, you have a percentage that's more increased, but the majority of the people that are shitting on dicks and sucking them, they're decent people. We have all the statistical evidence to show that, but we show that there's a greater propensity within the chili dog community um, for shiftless behavior. It you see
Shiftless.
you see right. You see the parallels. Like if you if
Shiftless. That
even if you see that trend, should we even make a big deal about it, or is it destiny now for everybody that's eating chili dogs that now they have to be profiled? Like there's a 20% more chance that you're going to do some crazy shit, and you may kidnap some children, or burn down an orphanage. We don't know. You're on that chili
right.
dog shit. Who
Would it
knows
even
what you're
be
capable of doing?
how much different really would it be from the overall population? Because it's crazy shit happening everywhere. No matter what your alignment is, no matter what group you think you fit into, there's people in that group that are fucked up and crazy and just using the group as camouflage.
And even if your group has the highest numbers of anything negative, it still represents a minority within that group. So no matter what we're
Right.
looking at, the majority of anybody in any group is probably not a problem. What we're talking about is matter of degrees of, there's a 20% more likelihood that you're going to get robbed from the chili dog group than you would um this Mormon cult leader. He may ask for your 14-year-old daughter's hand in marriage, and
Right.
that may be an uncomfortable conversation, but you don't have to worry about him, murdering you violently and keeping your body parts in the freezer.
I don't know, bro.
Would it matter? Even when you talk about per capita, like hundreds of thousands of people within a group, you're talking about like 7, 8, 9, 10 difference. It's still like a super low statistical anomaly for you to ever get murdered and eaten, even by a person that's, of the chili dog persuasion.
Well, I guess the best case scenario is that the world wouldn't even know that you were engaged in those type of activities.
Correct.
That's the best case scenario. If it wasn't for these psychos and their podcasts, we most
Yeah, I would have never known. I would have never
most
known.
normal people would have no idea what was going on. That's for a very select group of people who are looking for that kind of stuff. So the problem here is the people who go find it in those places and bring it to the rest of us to have to deal with.
Right. Because I think it's fair to say that it's very unlikely that we would be looking for those sorts of things in our internet searches.
Right.
But to know that not only is somebody like making the like they want to find that. Like I wonder if I could find a dude riding a skateboard with a dick on the end of it who just rams it up the ass of somebody at the end of a ramp. I wonder if that even exists. And then it does. That's the part. Like you're looking for something that's super wild, but the internet provides it. It's there.
Right.
You can see an Asian woman shitting on a dick and rubbing it all over herself and sucking it's available. And then they start banging in the back of the car after this. So this is saliva and shit. And then he puts on a condom. What's the
Why?
point of that? You got everything. You're done.
All of it. You got all the things that there are to have. You got them.
The viral load that's contained in a stream of liquid shit that was just sprayed over it.
Fresh too,
You're
not like a
done.
sample. Not like a sample
Yeah,
we picked up and brought back in the jar. No, it's fresh.
right. It
Got
hasn't
it
been
right from the
sitting there
source.
and had the time for the oxygen to get to it, and it's dying because it's out in the. No, 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 no. This was straight from her colon to the head of your sensitive, weak membraned man helmet. It's going right through.
Oh,
It's going right through. Your dick helmet is permeable.
inundated now with.
Your shaft is all right. Your shaft, if you just got it on the shaft, you'd be okay. But if it hits that mushroom cap, it's over. You got it. Whatever she got, you got it. What's the
Oh, this
point
is
of a condom?
painful, bro. This is painful. I guess I'm getting it. These are just what people want to do in their lives, and we would never know because unless you're watching it. And if you're actually watching it, you have no right to say anything. Like if you're in a restaurant somewhere and you order a gyro, you order you
Oh,
order some
that's the dude
poutine or
from the
something like
Subway
that.
shit video.
Right? You can't even say nothing because you was
Right.
watching the video.
Right.
And then you're sitting here in the restaurant wondering if you're wrong because you now don't want to be served by him, or if he's
Right.
wrong because he works in this establishment. That's a whole lot of conversation, which tells you that there's no clear, correct answer here.
That's
There's no,
dinosaur
yeah,
bigotry. You are an antiquated mode of human. You're a bigot and you just eat the bread and assume he washed his hands. Why are you being a sex racist and assuming just because he's a chili dogger that he wouldn't wash his hands before he came to work?
right.
I mean,
Would anybody else
you
wash their hands? If
right.
it's a guy who's just vanilla
Exactly.
missionary with his, why would you think he
Yeah.
would wash his hands?
Nobody
You're the
nobody
caveman for
ex-
assuming.
exactly. No,
Oh
no,
God.
nobody wants your boring sex juices on their avocados either. You're just thinking about his chili dog. You're not thinking about, your missionary semen and vaginal juices that also you got on you. You may have not washed your hands. You could cross
Right.
contaminate. You're
Right.
just as capable of contaminating.
So yeah, he
So
could outwoke you. If you called him out,
good.
he could outwoke you in that situation.
And then you find out that he did in fact, when you clicked on his website to watch his depraved video, and that's how you know it's him, he actually had some malware that's been using your phone to spy on you, and he pulls out the video to show you just got done fucking and you didn't wash your hands.
No, he
So now
shows
you're
you
on trial.
he turned on your webcam and recorded you while you were watching his video. So now he can show everybody what you did while you were watching his video.
Yeah, it's what he's into,
Oh,
guys.
so yeah,
So
this is what he's into, and he's calling me out for it. Yeah,
yeah,
I can see where that the tables get turned in that one very easily, very easily. Yeah, you can't say nothing. You can't
I
say
think
nothing.
I think that needs to be. We're going to eventually get rid of surnames, and it's just going to be your name, your pronouns, your soup can complexion, and then your positions. Hi, my name's Pinky. Cream of mushroom base, with a hint of gazpacho. He, him. Um, no chili dogs, no glass bottom boats. Consistent missionary.
I'm gonna have to
Thank you.
Google glass bottom boat because this is the second time you said that,
Do you want to know
and
what? I'll tell you
I
what it
can't
is.
guess.
You
I'm
can't,
like,
because your mind's not there. Mine wasn't either. You would have never thought of it. No matter how long you think about it, you'll never
I'm
figure it out.
trying so
So
hard. I'm just like, there's gotta be some logic in here somewhere for
I'm
me
gonna
to
tell you.
like glean some information and figure out what a glass bottom boat actually is.
Listen, I'm gonna pull you down in the mud where I am right now. You're not gonna like it, but once that corridor of your mind is opened, you can't close it back up. So now that you know what a chili dog is, okay? Glass bottom boat, kind of in the same vein. It's when somebody lays you down and has the decency to cover your face in saran wrap before they take a shit on your face. So it's like a glass bottom boat. You get to see the depths of the sea without actually getting wet. The glass bottom boat.
Yeah, I don't think I'd have guessed that one.
You would have never guessed it. If
This
you if you had
there's
six.
got to be teenagers just making this shit up. There's no way that there are people in the world, in the actual real world, who are like, what are they doing? They like, oh, anybody want to link up for a glass bottom boat? And other people actually know what they're talking about and are excited to attend. I can't. This can't be real shit.
Hey,
Somebody just making these up for meme quality. We're laughing at it on the internet. There's no way that this is the real things that
see,
people are doing.
my dear, um, righteous,
It can't be.
naive
I
brother.
refuse. I
You,
refuse. I refuse to
you,
accept that.
I was where you were at. I really thought it was no. It's a thing. Listen, if there's footage of chili dogs, listen, it's happening. It's a thing.
Uh,
It may not be as widespread as as the number of videos would lead you to believe, but yes, my dear righteous brother, it is so. It is so.
dude,
It's out there, and you're just cut off from it because you're not thinking on that level. You might be a bigoted dinosaur. I don't know. I'm not going to judge you, but
so
it's.
what you're telling me is these are not broken humans.
Let me tell you what a
They're not
rusty
broken.
trombone is.
I think I know that one. That's one of the older ones. I remember, I'm pretty sure I know what that one is.
But
And it sounds a little weird, but in the conversation with glass bottom boats and chili dogs, it's
that
starting
seems
to sound
tame.
kind of vanilla.
Yeah, by comparison. Well, first, there's no shit, at least not
Right.
directly.
That
Um,
makes it worlds better than
right.
everything else we've been discussing so far
there
automatically.
there may be some shit remnants inadvertently, but shit is not the main
Oh,
ingredient. It's not the
gosh.
star of the show in the rusty trombone. But it's when someone is eating your asshole. So their mouth is up against your ass like it was, the mouthpiece to a woodwind instrument. And what makes it the trombone is they're jerking you off. Their hand is wrapped around in front of you to jerk you off while they eat your ass. So it's like they're playing the trombone, the rusty trombone.
Rusty.
That's the thing.
Well, listen, I feel like yeah, that's just regular stuff at this point.
Yeah,
Think
tame
about like up until
PG.
about was it about 5 years ago that this would have been completely unheard of. Maybe 5, 7 years ago it would have been completely unheard of to talk about anybody putting their face against your ass. But now it seems like it's just regular. It's just normal
Regular.
talk.
There's footage in broad daylight of a dude in
All
an
right,
eight
yeah.
ball jacket getting his ass eaten on a bench right outside the train.
There's something about the 8 ball jacket that's just throwing me off. It's like
I didn't even
I
think they
feel
had
like
him
people
anymore.
I
If
feel
it
like
wasn't,
people in 8 ball jackets shouldn't be doing that.
if it wasn't, dude, and he looked like he could fuck you up. He had that look and that swag. Like I don't know, that dude might be trouble. I wouldn't want to fuck with him. He had some thugged out swag, but he was just casually sitting there like, yeah, I'm getting my ass eaten. Man, what? Don't look me in the eyes, bitch. Like just look at me, just and then when people
Getting some
came
crazy DMX
and
vibes from that.
dude, it was very DMXy. It had that vibe of just very hardcore masculine. Yo, you want to be in my video, you want to
Right.
wear my 8 ball jacket, you want to eat my
Very,
ass in front of the
very stop,
train.
drop, shut them down,
Yeah.
open up shopish.
Shut them down and open up that shop. It was open for business. And when the train came up, he still was keep going, but he didn't even it was the dude underneath that was ashamed, like, oh shit, the train pulled up. I should
Right.
stop eating your ass. But this dude was like, hold on, I'm not there yet. So he didn't even pull his pants up. He just started beating his dick. Just nah, we're gonna finish this. I'm not done yet.
Oh my
And
god.
it's a video and it's on the internet, and I never would have seen it unless I was on In Hot Water. And I don't know, I got to give that show a break for a little bit. There's some shit on there that's hilarious, but whenever they come with the disturbing videos, I'm like, oh god, why? Just tell some more jokes. I don't want to see this. This is horrific.
It
But it's
just
one of those
feels
things you
terrible.
can't look away. Like, really, this is happening
Oh my
in
god.
broad daylight and nobody says anything. But then again, it's like, what do you like? Stop that. You stop eating his ass. Stop jerking off in front of you. Stop it. Stop doing that in front of the train. Stop it.
Oh
There's
man.
no way to have. And
How
then
is
to
this the
get
world?
listen, and then then to get fucked up by that dude. Like, and it's all gonna be on video. So you went and got in between two men eating each other's ass in front of the train, and then you told them, and you did the right thing. There's people out here. You shouldn't do this. You shouldn't do this out in broad daylight. And then he gets angry with you, doesn't even bother to pull up his pants, and just beats the shit out of you. That's gonna be
Yeah.
a hard thing to live. Who wants that
Yeah.
kind
There's
of
no coming
problems?
back from that. There's no
Right.
coming back from that. You got to leave town.
Because I don't even think they make 8-ball jackets anymore. That's a vestige of a forgotten age. That
Right.
he like he's either a time traveler or he had to have kept that shit for this long in mint condition.
Right. And think about that. Think who the person who was able to
Pristine
keep
8-ball jacket.
the person who was able to keep an article of clothing for like 30 years in pristine condition is also standing up. None of this makes any sense. None of
None.
it makes any sense. How? How is
None.
this the world? Oh my god, it's too much, bro. It's too
Mouse
much.
Utopia. It's Mouse
Ah,
Utopia. These are
it
the
is. That's exactly what it is. This is
we're
just
shitting
circling the
on
drain.
dicks and getting our ass eaten in front of the subway car. And it's Mouse Utopia. This is so
Oh,
so maybe there's something to be said about um there might be a hint of mental illness involved in some of this behavior. Possibly.
a possible
Possible.
hint
A
of
smidge.
mental illness, but we can't assume that from the outset because that would be, like you said, that's dinosaur bigotry, right? We can't assume
Right.
they're crazy.
The question is the dude in the 8-ball jacket getting his ass eaten out in front of the subway, does he hold a job? Can he hold a job? Is he paying his rent on time?
That
If he's
the
handling these
truth.
other day-to-day responsibilities, I don't know. I don't know
Right.
if we can judge him.
So the truth of the answers to any of those questions don't really matter. The only real question is, well, not even the question, it's just a fact that if you think because of what he's doing, you see him that snapshot of his life, and you assume that he can't hold down a job and that he's fucked up in all these other places,
Dinosaur bigotry.
you have no right to judge him by this snapshot
How
of his
dare you?
existence. He could be on his way to go serve at a soup kitchen.
He had one moment of uncontrollable, extraordinary horniness, and
Oh
you
no.
want that one moment captured on multiple cell phone cameras from multiple angles to define him for the rest of his life.
No, I
Listen,
feel like he does that all the time. I'm sorry.
he
I can't. I feel like
well
this. He does it every
until
Wednesday.
until the tapes emerge, you're kind of a racist for assuming. You're kind of a bad person for assuming.
Oh, as
He
much as
It was a one-time thing. He was just super duper extraordinarily horny, and there was a gentleman who probably owed him money for drugs who was willing to eat his ass. Was
so
willing to
wait.
eat his ass.
So there's a power dynamic being exploited here. And
Absolutely.
you just introduce some duress to this situation.
I did. There may have been some Weinstein tactics employed. There was
No,
possibly some coercion or threats of violence. Um, but at the end of the day, you didn't come up with the money. You chose to eat the ass. So I don't, you're not going to win an Emmy, but you made a life choice. I don't know. You still consented. But yeah, it might have been under some duress. I don't know.
I feel like I I can't assume it was completely consensual. I feel like there had to be some type of threat made. I don't know how you find yourself in this situation in a public place and everybody's happy to be there. I feel like something went wrong. A lot had to go wrong for those people to be in that. If okay, so if this was on their OnlyFans page and it was just them in their house, that this wouldn't be weird.
Nope.
It's the public place and the 8-ball jacket that's
You
making
know
it
what?
weird. Those are the two things making it weird. The fact that it was at the train station and he's wearing an 8-ball jacket.
The more that I think about it, and that was their presumption, is that there's got to be drugs involved. Like that's got to be his drug dealer. And now that I'm thinking about it, it probably was some like thugged out humiliation shit. Oh yeah, you ain't got my money. Yeah, you gonna eat my ass in front of the train right now. That's what we about to do. I'm gonna fuck you up. It could have been something like that, to where that dude's not even necessarily into having men do sexual things to him, but it was just the principle, to show dominance.
Okay,
Is
I have a better scenario. I have a better scenario that's just a better for humanity as a whole. I think one of those people was out cruising around. I don't know if cruising is a derogatory. Like, is that bad to say, or is that like a outdated terminology or something?
No. We all know we are. You're on the prowl.
Right.
You're
So
on
I
the
feel like
prowl. You're
somebody was
cruising.
on the prowl, and they might have a an affinity, a fetishization, however you say that shit, a
Uh-huh.
fetish
Uh-huh.
for the DMX types,
Mm.
and you have a 1 in 100 chance of getting your teeth kicked in or them agreeing and being down with it. So he's probably done this a lot of times and probably got his ass kicked, got slapped, and a whole bunch of other shit. And then one day he rolled up on a dude with an 8 ball jacket and was like, "Hey, buddy, I got a proposition for you." And 8 ball was just like, "You know what? Fuck it."
But
And
why the
that day he got lucky
exhibitionism?
because that's probably just where their paths crossed. That was the that was the Venn diagram. you know, they were both. You know what I'm saying? It was fate. It was fate. Who we both could have been anywhere in the world, but we were both here at this moment. So why not take? You know what I'm saying? Maybe I feel like that's probably what happened. That's probably what
Oh,
happened
he gave them the
because
"you only live once" speech,
right.
and just they didn't even bother to take it to the bathroom or anything. It's
It's
like,
like fuck it,
fuck it. This
fuck
bench,
it.
I'm already laying on this bench. Why don't you go ahead and take a seat, sir?
Because I've seen YouTube videos and World Star videos of like old dudes, old white dudes. Not that the race matters, but they seem to be the ones doing this kind of shit. Where they just go park in some neighborhood somewhere where the thugs are walking around at, and the dudes would just walk up to the car and be like, "Yo, what you doing over here, yo?" And they'd be like, "Nothing. I'm just what? What's the matter?" And you know what's happening. You totally know what's happening. He's not there to buy drugs. He's not an undercover cop. He's just hoping that one of y'all know the protocol. And he doesn't want to go to the other side of town where everybody knows who everybody is and they're all down with it and it's a party. He has, this danger thing going on. He's hoping that one of y'all have recently watched the DMX video and
See,
you're charged up and you're ready. Because I mean, like you said, there's always a possibility, especially with this hypersexuality, hypermasculine, like all of that shit exists in the same space. These are converging circles. So if a person has that type of proclivity, why wouldn't he go hang out in those places? Why wouldn't he go? Because
Ah,
yeah,
ah.
you might get slapped around, you might get threatened, but then again, on that one fateful day, you come
Mhm.
across a dude in an 8 ball jacket who's on the same
He's
page as
down.
you. You know what I'm saying? I feel like that's what happened. I feel like we just mined down to the reality, the most likely scenario. Because I feel like if it was some type of duress, you owe me money type shit, I feel like dude would at least had enough respect for himself to be like, meet me over here so you can pay your debt. I feel like why would they right at the train station where people can see him? Well, I don't understand. That's the psychological part that I need.
But it's because like you're getting your dick sucked, you're getting your ass eaten. He's not doing anything gay.
Right.
Some gay shit is being done to him. He's the recipient. So as far as he's
It's
concerned,
fine, right?
that this is a girl could be eating my asshole. A girl could be giving me head. It really does. The lips are
It would still be
incident.
weird at the train
I'm
station.
not doing anything gay. I'm in the dominant position. I'm being serviced, so therefore it's not gay. And I dare somebody to say something. I think it's got to be a humiliation thing to have it just done in that public, because there's other videos, incidentally, videos I never would have seen unless I'd been watching this show.
So this
uh
show is the crux of the
it's
problem in this whole
no it
scenario here.
it's like I said, I got to take a break from it. See, when I started watching Compound Media, it was just for Michael Malice. Like, I like Anthony Cumia. I'll watch his show. I liked him from Opie and Anthony and all the dope conversations he used to have, and with Patrice O'Neill and the little arguments they used to get into. But I thought Michael Malice had like the best analysis and news. So that was the main show I was watching. And then I started watching the other shows. And him and Talib Starks with Safe Space. I would watch that show consistently. But so I was like, all right, let me start checking out some of the other shows. And I had watched this one a few times, and it was pretty funny. But I didn't know that just random splices of gay porn was such a reoccurring theme. The first time was kind of weird and uncomfortable. I'm like, all right, they're trying to make jokes, that's funny. And it was just a couple of still shots, just that they would have like as the reveal to their, their gag or whatever. But then it was just like, just just eventually this hardcore gay sex and some dude pounded another dude just standing on the stairway steps. Like, so I guess these were homeless dudes or whatever, and they were going at it. And this was very much, so I feel and I feel like that was more of like a random encounter, the way they were dealing with each other. It seemed like, okay, this is probably, gay homeless sex would happen in a train station. This was like, because it was kind of off, not really into the cut, but you could tell it was like late hours. Like there was nobody around. It wasn't like packed with people coming up and down the stairs, right? So they're the only two dudes on the stairs and they're just going at it. And somebody happened to catch it on film. This was right on the bench in front of where the train's going to stop. So you're about to have an audience. That's the only reason I would think maybe there was some duress and humiliation involved. But you know what? I'm fine with accepting your take on it, because you're right. That's the better answer for the world. That they was just two consenting time travelers in love who came back with pristine 8-ball jackets and and just happened to be comfortable on that bench and didn't want to take it anywhere else. They were just,
Yeah.
who knows?
Fate brought them together. It's a love story.
And I'm not a dinosaur bigot, and I'm not gonna judge them. And if we have to start incorporating our sexual position preferences after our pronouns, I'm happy with introducing and incorporating that into my introduction as well. Now I'm on board. I'm gonna lean into the woke thing. I'm not gonna fight it anymore. There's certain things I'm willing to make concessions. I'm willing to meet you halfway. If you'll stop with the other crazy shit, I'll meet you halfway. I'm the only thing I'm not doing is I'm not doing the race shit. Soup can complexion is here to stay. I describe people that way to other people. People don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, and I just act like they're not hip. They don't know what's going on. You know, I make them feel like the dinosaur bigot. You still describing people with antiquated ethnic titles like black and white and
Right. Colors. And,
Hispanic.
yeah. No, it's clearly minestrone, beef minestrone complected.
Beef minestrone. That's well, Miguel was he was kind of like a like chicken tortilla soup complexion kind of. Um, there was this his mom might have been minestrone. There was something there, but his complexion was more like a like a chicken broth, like a tortilla chicken broth, like a
Is
chicken tortilla soup.
is that's objectively better. I think describing people with well foods. I know that gets a little bit problematic as long as it's not regular run of the mill like chocolate and vanilla. I think the more creative you get, especially if you stick to soups, nobody can
Soup
be mad at soups. Candies and
soups are
desserts
all
and
earth
shit.
tones,
Like candies and desserts might feel a little bit dehumanizing. You start calling people, but I think everybody can respect soups.
right?
Everybody can respect soups. So we gotta we gotta lay out
It's
what the
not
perfect soups
offensive
are for everybody. Yeah, you can't be
because
offended by a soup reference.
right, because it doesn't mean like it's just such a nondescript, non-polarizing. It's just such a bland food. It's kind of like you know what I mean? Like dessert could be like the main thing. Like you've been looking for, oh dude, this blueberry cheesecake is the shit. And it tastes so intense, and you look forward to the soup is just like I don't really give a shit if it comes with soup or not.
Right.
Like, and maybe that's the new way to look at races. It's just such an incidental thing. You start describing it with such an incidental food, a food that people feel really nothing about. Like, there's people that'll stab each other over the Jay-Z Nas who's better debate. There's nobody gonna stab anybody over what soup is the
What
best.
soup they like the best.
There's no wars that are gonna be started
Right.
over if cream of mushroom is or isn't better than chicken tortilla. Nobody gives a shit.
They're gonna find ways. I'm already seeing with the chicken tortilla. Race is just gonna creep right back into it because they're gonna be like, "Yeah, it's a little like sort of like a curry stew chicken."
It's kind of like it's like a spicy. It's very
Yeah,
spicy chicken broth.
like a
Yeah,
Peking duck broth. That's
Right,
what,
right.
yeah, the race is just gonna creep back into it. It's gonna be a long time before people get the whole the racial barring and pairing and folders out of their brain. It's gonna take a lot of overwriting to bury those folders.
All right. So I guess we will stay away from because you got soups like Italian wedding,
No,
you
we
know,
can't do that. No.
right? You got soups, right? So anything like chicken tortilla, you're right. That could be associated. You're talking about something that's kind of beige, light brown, but you're right. As soon as you put the tortilla in there, people are gonna start putting, racial
Oh
uh,
yeah.
characteristics. So yeah, we'll stay away from that. So cream of mushroom, minestrone, chicken broth, clam chowder,
Clam chowder.
gazpacho,
Yeah.
yeah.
'Cause-
French onion, but obviously you don't mean French, but French onion has a rich brown hue that could be used to describe. But I don't know, maybe because it has French in it, it's already kind of,
yeah,
it's
that
already
belongs
kind
to the colonizers.
yeah. So
Yeah.
you just got to be careful well, there'll be an official soup catalog, I guess. That'll be like the acceptable soup cans to reference.
Yeah, yeah.
That and if you deviate from that, you're probably a racist.
Most likely. Most likely. Gosh, dude, I was just looking at these I went to these guys' page so I could see what you were talking about here. And I'm looking at some of the hashtags that they use in their episodes. These guys have got problems, bro.
They're very disturbed. They're
These
very
guys got issues, bro. And the good thing about it is the reason they can get away with it is because they make you pay to see it.
right.
They make you pay to see it. That's why they can get away with it. There's no way in the world this could be anywhere for people to consume by mistake. You can't. You can't. You know what I'm saying? You can't be clicking around somewhere and just stumble onto this. You got to know what you're getting yourself into. And that's why they're able to get away with it because you paid to see it.
Yeah, but
You paid to
behind
see
the
it.
paywall, they really fucking do. I mean, anything,
Right.
all types of crazy shit in there.
And nobody's really gonna go that far to reveal what they're doing, even if they do think it's problematic, because you're gonna have to pay to get in there to even screen cap the shit they're saying or doing or whatever. So they're just who? How would you even know?
And how do you explain that you sent five different screen caps so you can see the beginning of the skateboard to the end penetration
Right?
and explain what that is? Oh no, it's a dick on the end of a skateboard. Why are you watching that? What is wrong with you?
Yeah, no, no, no. That's not the point. The point is I'm trying to show you, like, no, no, no. How did you find it though? Yeah, nobody wants to hear. Once you bring that up, you're trying to tell on somebody else. They're gonna be like, wait, where did you see this? How'd
Right.
you find this? Like, well, I subscribed to their channel, and oh, you subscribed to it, so you paid for this.
But it was
Yeah.
just to research them, to
Oh,
cancel them,
right.
to
Research.
tell you
Got it.
all the evil things that they're doing with skateboards and dildos. It's awful.
Well, you've been subscribing to them for 2 years, though. It's terrible. I love it, bro. I love it. I love the fact that they're online monetizing their sickness.
Debauchery.
It could be
Just
worse. It could be worse. If they had no outlet, who knows what the hell they'd be doing?
yeah.
Because they're I'm not even going to say above. They are adjacent to the people that they are, that's giving them the fuel and the content for them to make their money. Because
Yeah.
if you can find humor in it and bring it, if you see something like that on the internet and you have the nerve and the presence of mind to take a clip and email it to your buddy, like, yeah, we're gonna talk about this on the podcast tonight, and like you go through all of that for that type of material, you are adjacent to the material. You're not above
Yeah.
it in any way. Because the average human who sees that is just gonna want to barf and then they're going to get on with their life. They're not going to try to download it and save it or send it to one of their friends and say, look at this. They're just going to get on with their life and wish they had never seen it. These guys made a career out of it.
It's too much, but it's good that it exists in that realm because you have the freedom to do that, and clearly everybody's not doing that. Like you're not gonna turn on Talib Starks and just see gay dudes pounding it out as the clip
Right.
is right. Oh, we're gonna splice in this clip of dudes banging each other in front of the subway. It's not gonna happen. and you'd have Michael Malice doing the news, and he's saying things that maybe, he wouldn't get away with saying on MSNBC or Fox News in the way that he's communicating ideas, but he's super on point. So for him to be this high level intellectual and speak freely, he has to exist in the same realm of a dude that's reviewing the NNFL and dudes that are showing gay sex on subways.
Yeah,
And they
I
all
feel
exist, but you don't have to watch one or the other or any of them. But
right,
it's kind of weird that you have to go to that level of extreme of availability in order to get people talking honestly. Like
right.
like to get somebody that's honest as Talib Starks or honest as Michael Malice, for them to have a forum where they can speak that freely, they also exist in a realm where dudes can show you just disturbing gay porn as a part of their routine. But
That's the
nobody
only
held a
place
gun
they're
to their head
safe.
and have to. Right.
That's the
Right.
only place they're safe because nobody else would let them talk. What does that say about the rest of the world, too? This is the only home we could find to speak the way we want to speak about politics and social situations is right here next to these guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
They
Because
kick you off YouTube. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And this is where you find a home. Right next to the guys who are showcasing chili dogs for the world. Well, not for the world, for their subscribers. Let's be fair. For the people who pay their hard-earned money to learn what chili dogs are.
Yeah, it's crazy. And Talib Starks, I think he got canceled. One, because he's a black conservative, but he used to work at a facility for like wayward youth, and he would help get people on the right path. But one of the things, because he's from the hood, he would let them fight, and he got in a lot of trouble, like with the state, like you can't do that, you can't let them fight. Like, nah, I'm gonna let them fight. It's a part of just working this shit out. And so his methods were successful, but they were like, nah, you got to go. You can't do that.
Oh, so
So
he has a book called The Uncivil War: Blacks versus Niggers,
it's amazing.
confronting the subculture within the African American community. So I could definitely see where you get canceled writing that book.
Yeah, I mean,
That's an easy road. That's an easy path. That's a shortcut to cancelization right there.
I mean, I guess the title was a part of the controversy, but it's not such a foreign subject.
No, no, no. Yeah,
Like it
but people who are on
mainstream,
that
no,
side of it, yeah.
yeah,
People who are on that side of it, they all get in trouble for the same reasons. Anybody trying to have that conversation is definitely going to get booted. You're going to get kicked out for sure.
I think the only person that ever successfully was able to tread that territory without getting in trouble was Chris Rock on Bring the Pain. I think that's the only time that needle has ever been threaded in a mainstream
Right.
way
Yeah,
where
yeah,
he
yeah, for
wasn't
sure.
just immediately, canceled, lambasted, controversial. And even when you go back and look at it now, I haven't seen it recently, but even seeing it like maybe 7 or 10 years ago, I'm like, wow, that was
Yeah.
pretty
And that's coming from
controversial
a
and hardcore.
genius comedian.
Right. No,
Not
no
even
one could be that precise
right.
and funny and do it.
That's a genius comedian. Not anybody who tried to approach this as a real conversation. Nobody's going to want to hear that. What you'll accept
Right.
from a comedian, how he's able to frame it and tell a story, and then he leaves you with that to be able to think about later. But a person who just wants to come to the table and have that kind of conversation, it's not going to go well.
Yeah.
It's not going to go well. Wow, that's amazing. I'd never heard of this book before. I might have to check it out. Oh, he
Yeah.
was on Candace Owens' show.
Yeah, I got it if you wanna borrow it. It's good. It's heartbreaking. It's a sad ass book. It's
Wow.
sad because he details a lot of the murders that didn't make the news, which is just
Yeah.
uh
Yeah.
yeah.
Dude, I can imagine. I mean, it's a real conversation. It's a real conversation, and it's obviously a lot of people are having it, but nobody wants to have it on a mainstream upfront platform.
But how many people want to work at a place where you're dealing with violent like not even pre, like a lot of those kids were thugged out already by the time they got to him.
Yeah.
right? Who wants to have that job? Like these are kids that a lot of people have. Society definitely has already written them off. Like, yeah, we don't care. We don't care if the hood ever gets fixed. We don't care if you ever find a way to make it out. You're probably destined to kill each other anyway. I'm not getting involved. If you want to use some of my tax dollars to throw at it, okay. But I don't want to go there, and I definitely don't want to work and try to save any of these kids. So you got to look at somebody who um, has a whole bunch of different opportunities to make money, right? Different avenues, and says, "Nah, I'm gonna work at a place like that because I think I can be a positive influence because I understand these kids. I come from where these kids come from. I know how I can help as many as I can, and I can't help all of them. You know, some of them is just there's nothing I could do. But if I can affect these other kids in a positive way, you know, I'm sure, without a doubt, he saved a lot of those kids' lives. There was
Right.
nobody else that was going to inject themselves into their fucked up situation and participate in any capacity that they would have been able to get any sense or influence into them. So coming from that perspective, it's really hard to write off the dude, even as maybe as controversial as the way he maybe articulates certain things, right? Obviously the book is the title is designed, right, to be provocative. You know,
Right.
that's just part of selling books. But I can't I it would be hard for anybody who's being intellectually honest to say this is coming from a person that just doesn't give a fuck and they're an opportunist and they're just trying to make money. Like there's other grifts to make money.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like he's not in a lane that's super popular and is the road to riches, like in the lane that he's in. And based on what he's done in his life, obviously he has some ground to stand on to say like he's invested in the issue more than most people who have very strong opinions one way or another about it. Very few people have contributed directly to any kind of resolution as much as he has. So
Right. Or didn't or even would be willing to if you gave them an opportunity to involve themselves in, like, so it's one thing for the fact that he put himself there. You know, that's where his life guided him. So he put himself there to be of service to these people who obviously needed it. But you can get a lot of the people who would be in favor of canceling him, calling him all types of names, and you could give them the situation and see if they want to apply themselves and to try to help somebody, and most of them wouldn't.
no.
If you
And
do you
and
want to
those
come work
county
here with
jobs don't
these
pay
people? They'll
shit.
be like, nah,
Right.
fuck that, bro. I'm good. And you know why? Because exactly, yeah, because the title of his book. That's why. Because they would automatically discount those people as somebody that's not worth helping. But if you brought that conversation to the table, they could turn it on you and make you look like the bad guy. Just by looking at the title of the book, anybody black who sees that would know exactly what he was talking about. That doesn't even need any explanation. It's clear. They know exactly what he's talking about. So the fact that we can't have that conversation openly in an intelligent way kind of shows you the seriousness of the issue even more, because it seems like the fact that all of us know about it and we would know exactly what he was talking about, we would know exactly who's who, but we can't talk about it for fear of being ostracized by the in group. Okay, perfect. I saw recently somebody that we both know posted an image of some white chick from TikTok or something like that, and she described herself in her bio as white bone, and this was being presented as something that was disrespectful to black culture because she referred to herself as white bone
Mm.
during Black History Month.
I I
Right? Yeah, make
so
that make sense.
so my under because I've had these conversations because when you're not familiar with it, obviously if you're a white person you only get introduced to it by hearing black people talk about it to you or around you, like high yellow, red bone,
Right.
all that. You're just like, what are you talking? And then when you're around enough, you're like, okay, I understand. My understanding of it, like when you talk about like octoroons and all these different, like, these are all concepts, if I'm not mistaken, like rooted in slavery categorization. Like,
Right.
that's the ethos of it. So it's one of those things where it's like it's a vestige of a forgotten era, but people, cultural remnants, these parts of the animal, let's just keep eating these parts, even though it's not good. Well, if we've been referring or identifying these ways, let's just keep doing it. So it's how much of that, like, can you moralize and tell people you can or can't have that as a part of culture? Like, I don't know who gets to make the rules, and I don't know if the girl did it to be provocative or if she was really kind of trying to show some sort of like solidarity, like, or to be funny. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
I feel like it didn't even have to be that person could have literally saw other people describing themselves as color plus bone equals me and was like, oh, well, I guess that makes me a white bone
right.
with no
Man,
animosity, no ulterior motives or nothing.
the
But then
sheer ignorance.
you
Right.
have people grab onto that and be like, look at this shit. And it's like, what are you even mad about? She
Well, if
called
there if
herself
there's a
white
if
bone.
there's a if there's a red bone, then I must be a white bone or a peach bone or
How about her description of herself as a white bone is the most accurate use of a color bone, category for people? Because nobody has red bones. Nobody, none of that
right.
means anything.
Everybody right.
So
We
for her to
so
call
technically
herself
we're
white
all white
bone,
bone.
right, it makes the most sense for her.
I mean, wasn't there a band called Redbone? I
Yeah,
I, I don't know.
yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, I
Come and get your love.
yeah, I don't know how offensive things can be, or if we want to make them. I don't know. I think we've all kind of been engineered at this point. It's very communistic or communistic, being
Right.
of the traits of communism, where we've all kind of been engineered and coached to be like little rhetoric spies, to where we're just looking for a cause of offense. Like, I don't know, I'm to the point now where I just want everything to just not matter. Like,
Right.
I don't care. Like, I can say he him, but if you call me a her, I don't really care. I don't care. If you call me Susan, if you don't use my right pronoun, I don't care. It's so incidental because it's couched in language. It doesn't
Right.
matter to me. It doesn't matter. So I guess maybe because we're putting so much sacred qualities to terms and rhetoric, and we're putting so much weight and meaning on it that it really doesn't need to have. And I guess maybe that's why I'm on this, this soup can complexion shit. Just make it incidental. It doesn't matter. If she would have
Right.
described herself as cream of mushroom or clam chowder, I don't think she would have had any outrage. I don't think
Yeah.
anybody would have cared. So that's
It's dragging us down for sure. 100%. So basically, the moral of that story is if you're an adult cis male and you're walking around in a Target and somebody says, "Excuse me, ma'am," you should just try to help them with whatever they're asking you and don't
I don't
correct them. Don't be like, "Yo, I'm
nope.
a dude." Clearly, don't start an argument. Just be like, "Yeah, how can I help you?" "Excuse
I
me,
don't even
ma'am.
care.
Could you get these off this top shelf for me?" "Sure, I'll help. No problem."
Absolutely, my pleasure. After I saw the woman tear down the GameStop display, it's ma'am. It's fucking ma'am. I'll take you outside and fuck you up.
Right.
Like, all
You're
right.
clearly behaving like an over testosterone juice dude
And
right now. There's
she's
no woman in the world.
she's
I would challenge anybody anywhere in the world to see what you know is clearly a female and call her Mister or call her Sir and see if she threatens to kick your ass. See if she tears up your establishment and threatens to beat your ass. I don't think it'll happen. I don't think
I
you can find a woman on the planet who would try to beat you up for calling her sir.
who would get that offended. And another reason why I probably wouldn't be offended if someone referred to me as ma'am is because I think in that situation I would know better how
Right.
to be womanly. And if I was about, because I've seen women about to, you're gonna tilt your neck a little bit. You take off one earring. You take off. There's a whole set of preparations to let you know that you're about to fuck that person up. That particular woman did not engage in, which made it seem even more masculine.
Right.
So So if I know in my heart that if I were going to portray womanliness in the context of a fight, that I could handle it better than a person who identifies as a woman, then well, why should I? Why do I care? I don't care. Maybe I am a little womanly. I don't know. I don't
Right.
care. It
Who
just doesn't
cares?
matter. Because the only person that's dealing with my dick is my woman. That's it. Who it it's of literally no consequence to anybody else that I engage with in any level throughout the course of the day, whether I have a dick or not. It just doesn't matter. It
Right.
literally it doesn't come up. Literally, it just doesn't come up. Nothing matters. There's no point. So who cares, ma'am? Can you get that from the top shelf? Absolutely, sweetie.
Sure.
As long as I can call you pumpkin, sure,
Oh
pumpkin.
boy. There
I'll
we
take
go.
care of it.
Oh, that's gonna be a problem.
Well,
Sure, sweetheart. No
listen.
problem.
If you misgendered me and I didn't care because it's not a big deal, right? I think I have the moral high ground if I refer to you in an affectionate way. No problem, pumpkin. I got you. I got you, sweetie pie.
Right.
That's
Yeah, you
that's
can't
just
say
me being
nothing.
kind.
You can't say nothing.
And I'm
So
getting shit from the top shelf.
right. So I'm already winning because I'm taller than you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is how we seed progress into society is by referring to all women as sir and all men as ma'am from now on.
And see who gets triggered.
Right. Whoever gets triggered is a dinosaur bigot racist.
DBR. Yeah.
Dinosaur bigot racists have to go, and we gotta. This is how we weed them out, right? We weed them out of society by just calling
One by one.
big bearded men "ma'am" and see what they see if they get mad at you.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Dude, that's got to be a social experiment somewhere. There should be a hashtag for that. All these prank channels on YouTube, everybody should be doing that. I need to see some video. I need some data. I need to see some data of what happens when you walk up on a dude and call him "ma'am," because for some reason, some like the GameStop ma'am, they be ready to fight at the drop of a hat. They be ready to fight. I want to see what the rest of society does
It
when they're
depends.
misgendered.
It depends. It
All of those
depends.
situations that I've seen, all the trans misgenderings of whatever end up in threats and almost fights, and it gets very aggressive immediately.
If a
Super aggressive.
if a dude calls or if a chick, especially a tiny chick, calls a big bearded dude ma'am, it's not going to be a problem. If another dude calls him ma'am, I could definitely see it being a problem. So
How
that would
much
be
of an
part of the
issue though?
social
Could
experiment.
you? I'd like to know. I'd like to see.
Dudes will fight. You know
You think
this.
so?
Absolutely. If a dude and it's gonna at first I can tell you how 95% of these are gonna play out. The first one is gonna be like, oh, excuse me, ma'am. And the guy's gonna kind of look and be like, okay. Some, the more aggressive are gonna be, what'd you just call me? And they may escalate. I think that's gonna be 5%. Most people are just gonna shrug it off.
Right.
Now, it's what happens after that. Do you call him a ma'am again? And I think once it
Yes.
happens more than once, that's where you'll see escalation if it's from another dude. Because the dude will immediately take that as, are you trying to is this like a dominance thing? Like are you trying to punk me? What's going on right now?
What
I
do you
think
mean?
it'll
What do you
absolutely be
mean punk you?
interpreted
That's
that.
not how I treat ladies. I don't punk ladies. What are you talking
Girls,
about?
I can't see any situation where a girl will give less than a fuck.
And yeah,
They
right.
if you did it to them a couple of times, they might correct you and they might be a little sassy when they correct you, but it's not going to be anything where they're going to have a problem with it.
They're gonna
It would
invite you
have
outside to kick your ass.
no, it would
Yeah.
not happen. It would only be if a girl knew the other girl and they already had drama and hated each other and she took it as a provocation. A stranger girl to another stranger girl, they haven't been around each other long enough to absolutely hate each other. In a situation like that, there'll be a little sassiness and a little shit talk, and then that'll be at
Oh, that's
95% of
interesting.
the time.
That's interesting too. How when you cross it, there's less problems. So if there's a woman referring to a man as ma'am or a dude referring to a woman as sir, there's less problems. But for two females and two males, it's automatic conflict almost.
It can be, but I would say 95% of the time, um, there'll be no escalation with the women, and 95% of the time with the men, there absolutely will be escalation if a second ma'am is introduced.
Right.
The first ma'am, I think a lot of people will just shrug it off. There'll be an aggressive 5% that will say, "What the fuck did you just say? I got a problem with this." But the majority of people just be like, "What?" Like
Yeah, that's
confused.
interesting. I'd like to see some data on this. So hopefully
Uh,
somebody listening can start making some
Conduct
sir
that
ma'am
social
prank
experiment.
videos. Yeah, we need to get that going because I'd really like to see it, especially in different settings. I think public places might be a little bit more difficult because if it's just regular people bothering each other, you get more opportunities for escalation just because it's people, it's strangers. But if you're like in a store, I think most people would be more inclined to act civilized at least. If you're just out on the boardwalk or something somewhere downtown and you call some guy a lady, I can see a fight happening easier there than if you're serving drinks at a bar or something and the guy's trying to order a drink and you're like, "Excuse me, ma'am, could you repeat that?" And he'll be like, "Wait, what? What did you just say?" Yeah, I need to see that.
A
I,
bar
but
may
I
be a
think it's a good
dangerous
thing.
variable.
I think it's a good thing. I think society can only improve if we start calling men ma'am and women sir. It can only improve. It can only get better. It's not going to get worse. If these we can dissolve these terminologies, right? What are we going to replace them with? What are we going to call people now?
Uh,
What's the professional way, non-gendered way to address people in business situations or just in public places?
by their preferred sex act.
Excuse me, chili dog.
Excuse me, glass bottom boat, missionary. Yeah, that'd be the new way. He
Oh
he him
goodness!
missionary, cream of mushroom soup. Yeah, that's the
Wow.
future.
And somehow it seems less crazy than what we already doing.
Hmm.
Somehow,
That's a good
because
point.
we're bugging. We're clearly bugging with all of this shit. If people are fighting over terminologies and phrases and gendered phrases, everybody else seems to be doing okay with it. It's something expressly American about this shit. Yo, I didn't know that items had genders in most other countries.
Absolutely.
I had no idea about that shit, bro. Items. Like there's male and female utensils.
Yep.
What the fuck are we doing?
Yep.
What the fuck are we doing?
Yep. And
Why does a knife or a fork, why does there need to be a gendered specification for inanimate objects? I don't even understand. And yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy to me.
because all of this shit comes out of the original organizing principle, which was fertility codes.
Right.
So our frame of reference is completely based on uh sex and sexual identity.
God, dude. Yeah. This binary needs to be transcended immediately. Because something's wrong. Something's wrong. But like I said, everybody else in the world who has these things, see, like a knife and a fork in this country are just knives and forks. It doesn't have any gendered specification. But we seem to be having the most issues with gender and who's who and how people express themselves. You have other countries where these inanimate objects all have their own genders and everybody's fine.
Hmm.
So,
I don't know. It's la puerta, and maybe it's because it's a hole. It's opening the door. There's a doorway. So a door
God,
is
that's so
feminine.
strange. Like we remove gender from all of these like places where you think it shouldn't be or it doesn't have any real place. But when you remove it, it finds its way into all these other places in society to create conflict. So maybe we should we gender our forks and utensils and shit now? Is that what we're missing?
I think the best way to move forward through all of this is to really
Abolish
just
gender.
not to abolish gender, but to I think what I don't know. I don't know if a lot of this stuff is sincere or maybe it's just the way that the left trolls the right. Because the right definitely trolls the left. So I don't know if all of this shit is serious or they just kind of know like how outraged people get by it. But I'm at the point where like I don't see a reason to get outraged about any of this shit anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
When you think about it, well, it's undermining all of these traditions and better that some traditions are okay to go.
Oh
And
yeah.
how much were you really celebrating any of these traditions or any of these concepts before they were challenged? So if it's almost like, when you're a little kid and it's your favorite toy only when one of your friends wants to play with it.
Right, right, right.
But it was just sitting there before, but the moment somebody, it's my toy, it's mine. So if people want to identify however they want to identify, if people want to have, incorporate the glass bottom boat speak in their identity, does none of that shit matters. It doesn't
Right.
matter. And if you want me
Especially
to
in the
announce it,
moment.
yeah,
Especially in the moment, it doesn't matter. And I noticed that most of their arguments is speculation about the future.
I think we should.
That's where the arguments are.
I think it should be. We should make. I just want to add to it. I want to make introductions be as long and as uncomfortable as possible.
Right.
I, so I, if the proper way is to say your full name and then announce your pronouns, I think we need to have a whole bunch of. You need to have your soup can complexion in there. You need to have your preferred sexual act, because if we're because we're also putting in there like if we're heterosexual or homosexual or pansexual, whatever, right, or two spirit or whatever. All of that is connected with what kind of sex we like to have too. Like a lot of those terms, to my understanding, isn't just what you identify as, but also as it relates to the person that you want to be with.
Right. Right.
So, so we should include favorite sex act position, right? And then your favorite color, um, most embarrassing moment. I don't know, like
Keep it
just a,
going.
just a string of things like to where we make it commonplace. Like you say your name, you say your pronouns, you say your sex act, you say your broth complexion, and it's just like like it takes it's got to take at least 45 minutes to a minute and a half. Like it's got to
Right.
be that many things, and we make that like the common, the like like if you didn't say it, you'd be a weirdo. That's how it needs to be. Like
Yeah, I feel like the Key and
if you
Peele could handle this excellently.
perfectly. If you just say, "Hey, my name's Dave," you're a fucking weirdo. No
Right.
one's gonna
Right.
like you or talk to you.
Yeah, it's just gonna be an awkward silence, like, and what else is there? No, just that's it.
And
Just Dave. I mean,
uh,
what's your soup can? What's your preferred? We don't have anything to go on here, Dave, quote
uh,
unquote. Air quotes, Dave.
no, no. As soon as he just says Dave and leaves it there, they're like, "Oh, okay, gotcha." Dave, the dinosaur bigot racist. Gotcha.
Right. We'll
Sequel.
just assume if you don't explain a minute and a half worth of your designations, we'll just put you in the category of dinosaur bigot racist.
That's it. That's it.
Right.
You commit to memory the proper introduction, or you run the risk of being a dinosaur bigot racist.
Right. And he wasn't wearing a mask when he came in either, so that should
Oh,
tell.
yeah. Dave fucked up. Dave will
Yeah,
have no friends.
yeah, he's a man without a country.
No. Lonely Dave.
Oh, good lord, dude! This has been an absolute roller coaster. I had no idea what I was getting myself into.
Sorry.
To
I'm sorry I unleashed this upon you.
I got so much to think about because I
Yeah.
thought I knew how I was aligned before this all started. And then the glass bottom boats and the chili dogs happened. And then I found myself feeling like a dinosaur bigot racist by wondering why we don't have tabs on these people.
Mhm.
And I'm realizing that it's none of our business and we shouldn't
Yeah.
assume
Thank
that
you.
they can't be fully functional, respectable human beings outside of whatever they do consensually on their own time.
That
Nobody's
was
getting hurt.
nope.
I mean, hey, listen, maybe somebody might have to go to the hospital every now and then because I'm pretty sure there's got to be some kind of issues with with chili dog consumption. I feel like there could be
Yeah.
some adverse effects, but look, maybe that's part of the maybe that's part of the
Dysentery is
fun for them.
imminent.
Maybe that's part of the fun. I
Yeah,
don't know, dude.
it was a low moment. It's probably, as enlightened as you are, it's probably the most hateful I've ever seen you. And I'm glad by the end of the episode you found redemption.
Right.
This is a good story.
I'm evolving in real time
It's
thanks to
beautiful.
these guys and their depraved podcast reaching its tentacles out from the depths of the internet, grabbing unsuspecting people who were just minding their business, and now they have all this new information, and they got to figure out how they feel about it and how to file it in their own head. That's a rough one, and we've been talking about this and mining this effort and this work for all this time, and then you immediately get introduced to new information, and you're like, "Hey, cage those people." Just instantly, hey, put them in. We need to lock those guys up. Like,
Look,
wait, what did they do wrong exactly? Oh man, that's
they
rough.
suck shit off dicks.
That's so
They're
what?
shit suckers. What people shit on in the privacy of their own home is no business of yours.
You're right.
But
Yeah.
you'd
Right.
want him to be your doctor or your pilot,
How do you know he's not?
right?
How do you know he's not? You just got a filling done a couple weeks ago. You want to know what your dentist does in his spare time, buddy? Do you
Here's some
really want to
footage of
open
him
that
getting
door?
saline injected into his nuts at a convention in front of thousands of people.
Yeah, that's not a box you want to look into. That is a Pandora's box if I ever heard of one. We don't want to start looking
Ah.
close at people and what. Yeah, that's a
So
rough.
now I'm
It's always going
confused.
to end bad.
So do we not want to know anything about people's sex, or is people's sex the most important thing to know the moment that we meet them?
That's a question
I'm
society has to ask.
confused now about which one is racist and which one isn't. Should we want to know the least amount as possible, or is it to make everybody comfortable we should know everything up front?
I think the highest iteration of this simulation is that none of us care. But the
Right.
only way to get to none of us caring is to oversaturate the
Full
information.
disclosure.
Full disclosure to the point
We're,
where we're just like, you know what?
we're
I don't care. Just let's just go back to Dave.
yes.
Can we just go
Yes.
back to Dave?
That's the goal. To
And
get
Dave will
people
be
to
like, that's what
crave
I
for
was
the
trying to
days of
say.
Dave.
Dave's like, that's what I was trying to say 20 years ago. Like, we weren't ready yet, Dave. I'm sorry. We called you a dinosaur bigot racist.
I'm
We were
sorry, Dave.
actually the dinosaur bigot.
You were ahead of your time.
Yeah,
You were a time traveler in an 8-ball jacket, and we weren't ready. We weren't ready for
terrible.
where you were at.
Time travelers in 8-ball jackets. Only one of them was a time traveler, though. I don't know what
It's like I'm coming. Oh my god! What if he came from the past and was eating his own ass? Maybe that's what happened.
that's the only logical
He's,
conclusion.
he's like, you know what? I want to eat. I want to have my ass eaten by me as an old man. I'm gonna travel back from 1983 to 2020 and get my ass eaten by me.
That's the only way it makes sense. That's the
Oh,
only logical conclusion is that he traveled back
right.
in time to do it to himself.
See, that's where everybody. That's why no one else could be the detective for that. Everybody else was confused because they're obsessed with why the fuck is he eating his ass out in public in front of everybody while the train's pulling up. You,
Right.
you see, while you were looking at the ass eating, we noticed a crisp, pristine 8-ball jacket that hasn't been made for 3+ decades. There's only one explanation
Time
for how
travel.
he could have it in this era. He's clearly a time traveler.
And that seems like infinitely more. That makes so much more sense than just rolling the dice on these two people being in the same place at the same time with the same agenda. How do they find each other? How did, and if it's not time travel, how did those two people find each other?
Listen,
Because if you run that simulation a million times, 999,000 times somebody just gets beat up. You step off the train and you see somebody beat to a bloody pulp laying on the freaking platform and you don't know what happened. That's how that ends almost every time. It's an absolute miracle for that to end in the way it did, and the fact that somebody recorded it.
1 out of 100,000, I think, is way too generous.
Way too generous.
I think that's way too generous. I think, if anything, if that scene doesn't convince you of the truth of love, there'll be nothing else to give you hope. Like, if you haven't met your perfect woman or your Prince Charming, watch Eight Ball Jacket ass eating video. To at some moment in time, two people, two strangers, just happen to meet each other, and the thing that they were looking for, that only they were looking for and only would have known by meeting each other, what is the chances they meet on that bench, and the only thing they could think about is ass eating in public, and that those the stars were aligned for them. And if the stars were aligned for them, everybody should have hope.
Yeah,
Everybody, there's
that's a
somebody for
fight. It's a
everybody.
fight every other time. I can't. It's a fight every other time. You put some guy there, wait at that platform, and just ask random dudes. It's a fight every single
But
time.
asking brolic dudes,
But yeah, thugged
dude,
out.
yeah.
Yeah. And not to mention, we got to take the 8 ball jacket out of the equation because that's like the anomaly that throws the whole thing off. The whole timeline is screwed up. If it's just a regular, it tears everything to shreds. It gets crazy. This is, it's like string theory, chaos theory. Once you start factoring in the 8 ball jacket, the shit just unravels. It's like, because if you just tell the story without that part, it just sounds like a weird thing. But you got a mint condition 8 ball jacket. That's when you got to call in the big guns. That's when you got to show the footage to the
To
one
NASA.
detective. Right.
You
There's
got
this
you got
one detective who has like weird rituals, how he figures shit out. That TV show, that's the guy you bring in for that case. Everything was fine, but there's this one detail that just we couldn't get it out of our head. The guy had on a pristine 8 ball jacket. And he's like, wait, what? 8 ball? Like, yeah, 8 ball. Those haven't been made for 35 years. Exactly.
He's a time traveler.
He's
He's
a time
eating his
traveler.
own ass from the past.
Oh man! And then they track it back to a power surge 3 days earlier.
Here's some footage with a man with no pants, but just an 8 ball jacket, emerging from the electrical breaker, from behind the electrical breaker. We don't know how he got there.
And we
But
got
as
this
soon
report from a bodega. It was a pantsless guy in an 8 ball jacket. He said, "What year is this?"
Oh
That's
shit.
all he asked me what year it was, and he ran out.
Dude, when they actually find the footage, it's the opening scene from Terminator. There's the lightning
Yeah,
storm,
yep,
and all of a
yep.
sudden he appears.
With an 8 ball jacket and no pants. This shit is terrible, bro. This is terrible. It's horrible. It's horrible. There's no way that this. I feel like the simulation created that when somebody Googled it. There's no way that that happened in
The
real life.
simulation stepped up. Oh, you want to see a dude in 2020 getting his ass eaten in front of the train in an 8 ball jacket? No problem.
That was just a really specific Google search, and the simulation was like,
We got
if
to
I
make this
return
happen.
this with
And then
no data, if I just say no search results, this will break the matrix. I gotta create a search result to give this person.
and it, and
They
it, it was
almost
it
hacked
was
their
in
way out of the
that
matrix.
moment the electrical storm brewed. In that very instant, the
Yep,
portal opened
it
and it
all happened.
happened. Yeah.
Oh my god, dude! This is like it's almost the Truman Show when he finds out he's being recorded. Like that's what that Google search did. It made the simulation like, oh wait, they almost got out. They almost made it out. They Googled something that didn't have any results, and we had to create it in real time and give it to them.
And the whole time he just had that loading, the little circle going around. Like, damn, these search results are taking a while. Like, we're making it. This is fresh to order,
We're working
just
on
for
it.
you.
Yeah, that's the first time the simulations had to work this hard in a long time. It's like, oh, I like that. Somebody's actually thinking outside of the box.
But it only
Everything
has to
else is
solve the
weird.
problem once.
Yeah, everything else is just like all Asians with octopus tentacles. It's like, oh, that's regular shit. Like this guy just Google searched time traveler with an 8-ball jacket, no pants, public salad talk. This it's too much, bro. It's too much.
Yeah, man. Yeah. When you're ready to treat yourself, you catch a couple episodes.
Oh,
Catch,
I
catch,
just went to their site, bro. You got everything. It's a paywall for real, for real. You can't see nothing without having a subscription. They charge $3 a day. That's fucking amazing. I love it. I love it. I've never seen a website that charges per day. Yo, listen. They just changed the whole paradigm for me. I love it, bro. I love that. It's a you just want to get in here and peek around for a few days, $3 a day.
$3.
You heard something about a chili dog on a podcast? Yeah, this is the place, $3. You can come in. It's like that's like the secret knock at one of those underground clubs. You go knock on the door and they just open a little slot and the bouncer's looking through. He's like, "What do you want?" It's like, "I heard something about a chili dog and a skateboard." Yeah, $3. Come on in.
It's just the speakeasy of debauchery.
Right.
Oh shit.
I love it, dude.
But $3 is just enough to where you're kind of like, fuck you, dude. Like
I
three
get it.
dollars is a lot. $3 a day. But then you think about like, damn, I could watch a lot of shit for $3 if I just really go balls to the wall in one day. Like it's just enough to where it's kind of like, fuck you, like how dare you, but not enough that like, okay, I could part with $3. Where I'm sure they
Right.
probably get a lot. They get a
And
lot of those daily hits.
and you know what's horrible is that if you pay the $3, you got to get your money's worth. So
Right.
you gotta really consume a lot of media to get your money's worth. And the worse it is, the better for you, because that's how you're gonna know you got your money's worth. If you
Yeah,
just
when you
watch
have
one
PTSD.
podcast where they're talking shit and laughing, that's not gonna be worth your $3. You got to see the skateboard. You got that's what's gonna make it worth the $3. To be disgusted, to see something on their website that disgusts you and it kind of reshapes the boundaries of your humanity because you were disgusted by something, so that lets you know you're still properly aligned. You didn't see it and find out something new about yourself. That'd be the scary part, right?
That's my new thing. That's the new campaign. We got homosexuals accepted, transgender people are being defended and celebrated now as they should be, and this is the next logical step. This
Wow.
is
It
this
is.
is my new pet cause is to have shit eaters and chili doggers and glass bottom boaters. They need to be embraced as acceptable, important members of our society. It's the next logical step.
I agree. I agree. As hard as that is, and I'm just gonna say I'm happy that I was able to go from quarantine them and possibly possibly warm up the ovens
you
to,
got to infant Hitler and then you walked it back.
right, because I was on the way. I gotta say, I was at the top of that sled, and I was at the top of that mountain. I had my sled ready. I was gonna yell "weed" down the whole slippery slope. I was ready, but you're right. That this is just a new frontier of dismantling dinosaur bigot racism.
Yeah,
Oh
but
my
if you
god!
if you don't if somebody is enlightened like that, but they're your daughter brings one home, you don't have to accept them. We're not there yet. We're not asking for that level
Well, how
of
would
accept
see what we're saying is I wouldn't even know if that's who she brought home. There's
because
no way that.
we would be that uninterested.
Yeah, it's not. I have no idea. As long
You
as
know what?
it's
You're right.
yeah, there's no victims here. Nobody's getting hurt. You know what I'm saying? Then whose business is it?
Now
Really?
I'm Dinosaur Hitler.
See how quick that goes? It's like you got to protect our daughters, though. They deserve to
We
be
gotta be
embraced in
ever vigilant.
society, but not near my daughter. Yeah, there's no way that anybody would know. There's no way to assume it or make any type of this is the final frontier right here.
Yeah,
This is the
that's
final frontier. It's not gonna be easy. It's not gonna be easy. You're gonna feel like warming up the ovens often, but you gotta pull yourself out of it.
you have to trudge past it. You got to keep your eyes on the prize, and only be motivated by that which inspires you, what you're heading towards, the positives. We
Right.
can't constantly be motivated by the negative and outrage. That's the current bread and butter of the algorithm. So to truly transcend it and break it and get things moved in the other direction, it it's extreme disinterest.
Right.
Hey, this
That's the
dude,
only way forward.
she just sucked a dick covered in shit. I don't care. I don't care. God bless her.
How do
I
you know
don't
though?
care.
How do you know? How do you know? Oh, you watched it. Oh, okay. Yeah, so if that and that's another thing that we said earlier, but to reiterate is if you consume it, you're adjacent to it. You don't get to place yourself above it. If you saw it, you got to think about the chain of command, the how did this get to you? How did you find it? Where were you? It didn't just like, oh, I was walking down the street and it was playing on a big screen TV in the front of a pawn shop. That's not what this is. If you found it and you find it as some type of depravity, you don't like it, you're still adjacent to it because it was in your field of vision, in your field of consciousness. It found you technically.
Yeah, you opened my eyes, man, because I didn't even think about that. But for as much as they're joking on it, right? Like you're deriving your humor from it, but you can't clown it and think you're that much better than it or above it because you had to go and look for it originally and
Right.
you consumed it first before you decided to shit on it. And there's so much pun intended. You're shitting on things that you think, oh, that's goofy and weird and isn't this hilarious, but you're interested enough in it enough to build a whole show around it.
Right.
So
And
you
what does
can't
that tell
mock
you?
it, but too much.
This is the foundation of your career. This is the
It's
mortar from which you built your empire. And you try to place yourself above it. Sorry, buddy, you don't get that opportunity. You can't. It's yours. You're all in it together. You're in the same folder with the chili dogs. Yeah, we're all there. And these concentric circles all join somewhere. Nobody's outside of it. Nobody's outside of it because the most depraved person that you can think of probably buys the same products as you in the same stores. Like they're, unless they're just straight up crazy and they're hurting people. But I'm talking about consensual depravity. Consensual depravity, we have to make, that's where we can draw the line at. I think once it becomes you victimizing people, we all can agree that, that needs
yep.
a whole different set of rules. But as far as consensual depravity goes, you might not want to look too close at the thing you're pointing the finger at, because to be honest, there's going to be a whole lot of common ground that you have with those people that you claim to dislike because of the actions that they're engaging in.
Yeah. So there'll be no judgment. There'll be no judgment for me. Um, I do. I thought of one other thing. Um, your zodiac sign. You got to put your zodiac sign in
Oh
your
yeah,
your
yeah, for
introduction
sure,
as well.
for sure. At least your zodiac. I mean, you got your zodiac. What about your Mayan calendar?
Yeah.
Glyphs. I
If
mean, we got as much information as we could possibly come up. You got to put it all in there.
see,
You
and
got
you
to
have
put
to
it all in
state your element.
there.
Fire
You're
sign, water sign.
right.
Yeah.
All of that. Your Chinese birth
Yep.
symbol,
Yep.
your
The
birth animal, all of that, the whole
year of
nine.
the
We need to know if
dragon,
you're
year of the
a
dog.
boar, a pig. What are you? I mean, keep
Yep.
it coming. Keep the information coming until we just get sick of it and just go by first names only.
Cream of mushroom, uh, cock, Virgo. Yeah,
And then
you
people
wrap
will
them all
be
in there.
rushing you
Just
because you should know this shit. It's like
right.
staring at the menu in McDonald's for too long. It's like, yo,
Oh
what the
shit.
fuck, bro? Come on, let's get on. You don't know this stuff already? Let's go.
No, but even better, like when somebody's lying, like, what's your name? As soon as they hesitate, you know they're lying. So
Right,
when
right.
you have all of this identifying information, right, you know if somebody's full of shit or not from the get. Like
Yeah.
it would take you a while to try to, if you were trying to conceal your identity or maybe try to play up certain shit, like when you're buying a used car, it's like, oh, where are you from? Oh, I'm from Chicago. Oh, you're from, I'm from Chicago too. Oh, what a coincidence. And then, yeah, you try to deceive and relate to people, but you can't do that anymore. You can't, if you gotta put this much information in the introduction up front, it's gonna be almost impossible to tailor make your lie to kind of get in good with somebody based on what you're asserting. And if you can, if you can think that quickly on your feet and sell it, then maybe you deserve to just be able to deceive whoever you want, because it's a lot of information. Again, 45 seconds to a minute and a half should be the standard turnaround time to announce yourself.
Right,
And
right.
I'm gonna be adding on to this shit all week. This is my new pet project. This
To figure out how much information you can add to introductions until it's unbearable.
this is great. I'm excited about that. I
Yeah.
like that.
This is gonna help us purge a lot of unneeded shit that we're carrying around anyway. We're gonna, because once people get sick of it, they're gonna have to cut off a lot of extra shit,
And
and what's left afterward will all be better off.
think about how great it is when we have guests on to introduce ourselves to them like that, and then to wait for them to give a response, and then we can kind of low key show some disdain. Not too
Oh,
much because we don't
not
want
too
them to run
much.
away, but just a little bit to let them know, like, oh, you're a Dave. Gotcha. Okay.
Gotcha. You want to? You're
Gotcha.
a Dave.
Right. No problem.
Oh, God, it's perfect. It's perfect. This is it's a strange how absurdity leads to all of these realizations about society and how it needs to be shaped. Because I think approaching it, when you approach it with too much seriousness and too much intellect, there's so much that you don't have access to. You lose so much of the fractal is lost because you're trying to go at it logically. It might need to be that the position of absurdity is the foundation, and then once we once we get through all of that, that's how we find the real threads to tug on, that's going to make all this shit make sense.
Mm.
That's because, I mean, that's sort of the theme that even other people who listen have brought up. It's like finding some wild, outlandish ass concept and then figuring out that there's some real fundamental truth in there that people would be improved by metabolizing a little bit. And
It's
I
the
think
only way. It's the only
it
way to
is.
get
It
people
might
to
be.
digest things without immediately putting them on the defensive. Because everybody's been trained at this point to be so polarized. If you people from the moment that you open your mouth are trying to figure out what box to put you in. So they already know how they're going to feel about whatever you're going to say. So there's no way just to transmit pure substance one way or the other. Like it's all kind of blocked by these defense mechanisms that are set up with these labels. How people label you and perceive you is going to color everything that you say.
Yeah.
So you gotta this it's the only way is just have some absurd shit so that nobody feels offended or put upon or attacked. And in the midst of that giant ridiculous bullshit sandwich, there's a little nugget of brilliant truth that if you would have tried to put that pill in the forefront right out of the gate, it would have made the other person outraged instantly.
Right.
So that's how you got to do it, man. You got to sneak it in.
Gosh, dude. It's perfect. It's perfect. I think I figured out some very important things about myself today and how easy it is to slide into a authoritarian, murderous regime, as I was very close to at the beginning of this episode. I was very, very close to completely accepting a cleansing.
I don't blame you. It's shocking when you're first introduced to it. I was repulsed.
Right.
The moment you see it, you can't unsee it. I understand the sentiment for sure.
Yeah. You could have talked me into some terrible things at the outset here without very much pushback. But I'm better
Dinosaur
now.
Hitler.
I'm better
Yep.
now. I'm
And
better now.
that whole transformation, that metamorphosis in real time, there's a lesson there. There's a lesson there. Other
Oh yeah.
people will be able to take part in it, and they'll be able to. Right now, there's somebody that's dealing with a chili dog in their life, you
Right.
know, and they feel some kind of way because people are milk bones or whatever,
White bones.
white bones, or whatever. There's something right now that you're bothered by, that people are using their pronouns, and you don't want to use your pronouns in your introduction, and you're just enraged by it. And that whole thing, it's chili dogs.
Yeah.
You're in that chili dog mindset, and it can easily transition you into dinosaur Hitler. And you've got to work that out. You've got to go in your mind and figure out who the chili dogs in your life are and why they make you so angry, and figure out how you can coexist and not be so bothered by it,
You
or
gotta
you will
find your
become
inner chili
dinosaur
dog.
Hitler.
You gotta
Yeah,
find your inner chili dog.
because
You
you're
gotta
you're
isolate it and figure it out.
you're a chili dog to somebody, and you don't even
Definitely.
realize it. You
Definitely.
if you're in the room with some people, and your bacon croissant is delicious, somebody is smelling that bacon and they're absolutely disgusted,
Right.
and they're looking at you, and in their mind they're like, God damn, this motherfucker smells like wet dog, and it's going through their head, and you don't think you're doing anything wrong. You're just sitting there eating your filthy poisoned animals, and you just and you
Right.
think nothing of it. It's so natural to you, but that's something that makes you a chili dog to somebody.
Wow. Man. That puts everything in perspective.
It's heavy.
It puts everything in perspective. I'm not mad. I'm happy I got an opportunity to drive a little bit of personal evolution today. That was awesome.
It's beautiful. And someday we'll all be shitting on each other and fucking each other in world
So
peace.
much,
It'll just be
and we won't have
great.
time for war and racism. It'll all be down. It'll all be gone. It'll all be gone because we'll be covered in excrement, stench. Unbelievable. But that would be an objectively better world as long as the war is gone. If all we're left with is consensual excrement spreading, I guess I guess that's better. That's better. Nobody's getting flown halfway across the world to get blown up by a fucking IED, whatever that shit's called.
Oh.
Yeah, that's a better world, and I'm not mad. I'm not, and I challenge anybody to prove to me why that's not a better world. I challenge you. I challenge you to tell me how that's not a better world. We do,
Oh.
yeah. Problems got solved today. Problems got
Yeah.
solved,
I don't even
evolved.
know. What are you even gonna call this one?
Dinosaur bigot racism.
This this is all over the place.
oh, oh my god. Oh, this was special. This was special. I had no idea, but yeah, this was special. I might have to go pay my $3 over to get some in hot water action for
Yeah.
myself, so I could just see how deep the rabbit hole goes
Yeah, take a shower. If you can,
before and after.
yeah. Yeah. Take a shower, man, and you may need counseling. There'll be there's gonna be some post traumatic
Oh
stress.
no, I'm good. This was my counseling right here. I had preemptive counseling, so I can go into it knowing that
You say that.
whatever,
You say that. But
whatever I
then
see, I'm gonna assume is as long as the C, as long as the consensual is part of the equation, you know, I'm good. It's not my
this
business.
as a person that is concerned about your health, this is what I would say. For research purposes only, since there is an open case on the matter, I would check out the 8 Ball Jacket Time Traveler, and that's it. I wouldn't go any deeper than that. That alone is worth the $3, and then I would just cut your losses from there. And if you feel like you didn't get your fill, I will next time I see you, I will hand you a $5 bill. I would just hand out and say, listen, it's don't think that you lost the $3. You saved your soul by only observing the 8-ball jacket.
Was that the
Anything
last episode? Was that like the last episode? Because I'm some of it's it gives you no, it's just as crazy as our episode descriptions. I know one of them says rape of the day. I don't know what that means, but
oh my
I'm not
god,
sure I want to know.
yeah,
These
it's
guys
all
are bugging, bro. But they're charging $3 a day, so they winning.
they're winning. They're big on the free speech shit. Like so
Right.
they're just all about like to the absolute limits of challenging it. And like whenever the limit gets stretched out a little bit further, like, okay, cool. So we're gonna go even further than that. It really is like I respect the aim of what they're doing, but the product that has to be created in order to achieve that feat, it's sometimes more than I could stomach. More
I
more
don't
more than
blame
I could stomach. But two things that I'll tell you that are fucking hilarious is Cookie Boy, and the 8-ball jacket are the two things. You don't need any more than that. Any more than that, you could possibly poison your soul.
you. Well, go. You're gonna have to go through your history
I
and
will. I'll give you
show
the
me which
episode
one. Yeah,
number.
so I don't have to waste my $3. I'll just because I don't think I want to go through too much of this. Who knows who's gonna come out of the other side? you know, I don't want to. I don't want to subject myself to too much of this. So today's episode of Dinosaur Bigot Racism has been indirectly brought to you by the In Hot Water podcast. So I got to show those guys some love. I'm gonna give them $3 just because it's worth it to give them $3 just for this episode.
Fair enough.
They just hearing about their podcast has helped me evolve as a human. So it's worth $3.
Beautiful.
And besides,
Beautiful.
I sold some crypto today too, so I got a couple extra bucks.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
I was realizing I wasn't getting the full. I wasn't taking full advantage of the Coinbase app. I was kind of just looking at it fluctuate, and then it just dawned on me. I was like, wait a minute, this shit's like going up and down all the time. I'm just holding it, watching it, and this is the whole lesson that I'm learning right now is pulling the trigger because projected gains aren't actual gains. So sometimes you just got to pull the trigger. You got to, jump in, jump out. You can't be long term with everything. And that's what I was doing wrong with my crypto here. I was just watching it. So today I hopped in and was like, screw that. I went and looked at what I had purchased, saw how different it was. I sold it. I said next time it dips, I'll buy more and wait for it to climb and do it again. Just get a little bit more active in there. It's working out. I mean, it's nice because everything I got was probably 2 or 3 months ago. So all of it, has gone up since then. But I think I could be a lot more active in the whole in and out game as far as this stuff is concerned. So that's what I
Yeah,
learned today.
and it adds up too. It
Oh yeah,
adds up. You get a 20% gain here, 30% gain here.
right.
Like you're never gonna get that you're not gonna ever get that any kind of return in any kind of interest on a bank account or whatever. So
Right. And
yeah,
some of this
man.
shit fluctuates like that by the week. Like it could be
Yeah.
50 cents today, 70 cents in 3 days, and then back down to 47 cents. So that's an opportunity to snipe some shit, get in, get out. You know what I mean? So I'm learning that for sure, for sure.
Yeah,
So yeah.
they all can't be like 1,000% gains, you know?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes it's small, but if you're paying attention, you can make some come ups. So I pulled the trigger on a bunch of shit today. I sitting on a whole bunch of coins that was just kind of floundering around, but it was a lot more than when I had went in. One of them I only I put like $7 in it. Just because it was, you get your Coinbase app and you're like, yeah, I'll try a little this, little that, who knows? And it was worth like $35. I was like, holy shit, let me get rid of this. I'll take that. $7 for 35. I'll take that. Yeah, man. I'm gonna wrap it up. I definitely need a nap now. This shit was amazing. Absolutely amazing. But yeah, dinosaur bigot racism is on its way out.
Yeah. And I feel bad that I unleashed this upon you. I'm sorry.
Oh man, look, listen. Today was the perfect day for it. I wasn't prepared. I had no idea what I was getting myself into, but I'm glad it happened. I learned about myself a little bit today, and I'm happy with what I learned. So I came out on the. I think I won this struggle with humanity. This little wrestling match I just had in my own psyche. I think I won. So yeah, definitely good talking to you, man, as usual. And I think I think we got a guest for this Sunday, so I'm looking forward to that. That'll be
Excellent.
dope.
I'm gonna have my introduction ready by then. I'm
Yeah,
gonna
I'm
I'm
gonna
gonna
work on
unleash it
mine
on
too.
them.
See see how much of an awkward silence we can get.
Because if we both do it just without flinching, as if it's expected,
Right.
yeah, and then just kind of wait and just.
Yeah, I
I'm
think every
interested to
time we
see how
have
that
guests,
goes.
that should be the first step is to just introduce ourselves in a new way. It's the new human introduction.
Yeah, no consistency, or just every episode add to it.
Yeah, yeah, it just gets longer and longer. And I encourage everybody else to do the same.
Good shit, dude. Good shit.
Yeah, man. You enjoy the rest of your night, man. I'll politic with you soon.
Absolutely, man. Always a pleasure, man. Till the
All
next
right.
one.
Bless.
Peace.